Welcome to the Competitive Advantage podcast. So, this is episode 2. Already, we've outlasted millions of other podcasts that couldn't be bothered to make it past episode 1. And I've got a very simple structure with this podcast now. I've got a few guest episodes lined up. Of course, we've got Eric Jorgensen, the CEO of Scribe Media. He's on next episode. And then I've also recorded one with Joshua Lysek. He's a $1 million ghostwriter who's ghostwritten books that you've probably read and had no idea that he actually wrote it. But this is a solo cast episode. Basic structure is a book that you need to know about, followed by one strategy or tactic or principle that can help you grow your business, blow up your monthly recurring revenue, and basically become unforgettable online. And then a creator that you need to know about, followed by one high leverage question that you can ask yourself to make rapid progress in everything that's important to you. And then finally, a little update on what I'm working on in my own business and how I'm actually growing it, like day to day, what I'm doing, what's working. I just crossed 106,000 followers on Instagram, and I study this stuff extremely closely. Like, I'm a full-time creator already. Like, I've basically made it. I've gotten to that level that, a lot of people aspire to get to, and I'm sort of sharing exactly what I'm doing on a day-to-day, like, basic tactical level on, like, what's working now and how you can do it, how you can sort of implement these things in your own business to, get more followers, make more money month to month, expand different revenue streams, and just make a bigger impact and serve your community better and things like that. So this is exactly what I'm doing, and so I'll save that little update towards the end. In the last episode, we were talking about perfectionism and how you cannot let it stop you from getting your work out there and iterating over time, improving what you come out with. Because like odds are, your first 100 videos are not going to be all that great. Episode 1 for this podcast wasn't phenomenal. I released it with some mistakes and some things that could have been done better, but I got it out there. So there's not going to be a bunch of retention editing in this video, a bunch of like sound effects and graphics popping out at you from everywhere. There might be a couple, but it's basically just going to be like an actual conversation, like talking. And I'm not going to worry about the algorithm and like reaching more people. Like, if you're actually committed to becoming a full-time creator like me, and just blowing up your monthly recurring revenue and just making more money in your business, you're gonna have to sort of like not be distracted by all of these notifications blowing up your phone and the recommended videos feed on YouTube, all these things. Like, if you can't pay attention to like a 10-15 minute podcast episode, you're just not going to make it. And with that being said, welcome. The podcast is brought to you by the community that I host on School of the same name. It's also called The Competitive Advantage. It's a private mastermind for entrepreneurs and creators who are in relentless pursuit of financial, time, and lifestyle freedom. We've got just fewer than 40 members right now, with more people joining all the time. And actually, I buy a new book every single month for every new member to the group. So if you join, I will buy you a book of your choice. It doesn't matter, like fiction, nonfiction. You sign up. I'll send you a message and you let me know what book you want me to buy you, and I will buy you that book. And like, I'm not going to force you to read it. It's just one of those things that I can throw in to make it even more attractive, like make it such an easy decision. Like, this is where you want to be. And I've got just so many, like dozens of fantastic people in there who are just professionally successful and ambitious and driven, and they're supportive and they want to see you win. So I'm actually pretty inspired by my own community, and like, not necessarily by me. Like, it's the members that make it what it is. Like, it's honestly, that's what it is. And so the first link in the show notes is going to take you right to the Competitive Advantage, which leads me to today's book, which is called It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad. He actually used to be Russell Wilson's mental conditioning coach. He was one of the world's top brain trainers. And so the book is called It Takes What It Takes. It's about neutral thinking. And here's what he says about it. He says, no matter where I work, the same truth keeps emerging. Neutral thinking is the key to unlocking a set of behaviors that can turn also-rans into champions and champions into legends. So as you can probably guess, with neutral thinking, you're not thinking positively all the time, which, has its place, of course, but you're also not like, thinking negatively all the time, like just sabotaging yourself mentally. You're just keeping even. It's very similar to Stoicism, but here's what he says too. The actual truth is not negative or positive when you remove judgment from it. It simply is. Neutral is the harmony between two extremes, negative and positive. Neutral thinkers remain aware of the situation as it changes from moment to moment. We give ourselves the opportunity to learn from every situation, even if the outcome is not optimal at that specific time. The next behavior remains consistently in our control. So it's all about the next behavior. So it doesn't matter what just happened. It's like you take neutral stock of the situation, what happened, like your actual reality as you're confronting it in the moment, and you're not catastrophizing. You're not descending into this negative thought spiral, and you're not sort of like blissfully unaware in like positive thinking land. You're neutrally assessing the situation, what actually happened, your capabilities to respond, and what you're going to do next. And so like, that's obviously one of the main themes of the book. Actually, I'll tell you right now, I've got a full breakdown of the book that you can read in about a half an hour. It'll take you a half an hour, not it'll be ready half an hour from now. It's ready now. But it's the whole book is fantastic. I took pages and pages of notes, and so my full breakdown has all the key ideas. But one of the things that I almost can't stop thinking about it when I think of this book. Still, like I read it in January, I believe. Um, was about how like if you actually have a goal that you're serious about reaching, about achieving, you don't really have a choice anymore. It's almost like you lose your free will, because your choices are kind of made for you. Like you make the initial choice to go after this goal, and after that you suddenly don't have any choices anymore, because there's a very a scripted, sort of like a precise roadmap basically that you have to follow. If your goal is to, say, in bodybuilding, to win the Mr. Olympia title, you don't have a lot of choices anymore. Like you don't have the choice to, go out to a movie on Friday night and just eat a bunch of popcorn, or like get drunk every weekend. Like those choices aren't available to you anymore. And like the same thing with building a business. Like you suddenly have all of these different choices just removed. And like if your actual stated objective is to grow this business, there's not many things that you're allowed to do anymore. You don't have choices. And realizing this and sort of making that initial choice that cuts off every other choice after that is one of those things that it's so paradoxical, because on one hand, like you're kind of restricting your own freedom, and nobody likes that as well, but you're sort of giving yourself the freedom to achieve this thing that you said was important to you. So this whole idea of not having choices, I've been thinking about this for a long time now, and like it's so true. Like if I want to reach $25,000 a month in recurring revenue, which, okay, dude, I have like several business coaches that I talk to, and every single one of them, without fail, they're like 25,000 a month is like nothing. Like you just like think bigger. But at the beginning of the year, I set a goal of $25,000 per month. Now, like since that's my goal, I don't have a lot of choices. So the book is called "It Takes What It Takes" by Trevor Moawad. My full breakdown is in the show notes. And you also have a choice of following this next guy. I have to tell you about him. I learn from him all the time. He actually is a good friend of mine. His name is John Brooks, and he's one of, I guess, I mean, if he doesn't mind me saying this, he's one of like the emerging stars of Stoicism, basically. When you think of modern Stoics, you probably think of Ryan Holiday, perhaps William Mulligan from The Everyday Stoic. He actually sent me his book of the same name, The Everyday Stoic. I highly recommend that one. I'm really enjoying it. But, and Donald Robertson, too. He's got an excellent book that I've also written a breakdown of, Think Like a Roman Emperor. But it's my prediction that you'll be hearing a lot more about John Brooks, who has a podcast of his own and a Substack. It's called The Stoic Handbook. And he's also got this wild sort of origin story of how he got into Stoicism. And like you think, I mean, when you hear his story, and like I'm not going to tell you much about it, because like it's better if you hear it from him. But if you sort of find out about how he, like what got him into Stoicism, and you realize the power of that philosophy to really help you get over some stuff. I'm a big supporter of John's work, everything that he's doing, and so he's one of those guys that I just think that you need to know about. Plus, he's just a great, friendly dude with this fantastic Welsh accent, super easy to listen to. And yeah, Stoic Handbook. I'll link to all of his stuff down in the show notes as well. Which leads me to the next section here, which is one strategy, tactic, or principle to help you blow up your business. And the one thing that I want to talk about is something that I first heard of in a fantastic book. It's called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big by the cartoonist Scott Adams. And what he says, and this is something I've been thinking about for years, what he says says is that it's so incredibly difficult to break into the top 1% of any field, but it's relatively simple to break into the top, say, 10% of two different fields and then combine those two things into something that's, special and memorable and that, makes you stand out. And which is something that you really have to do because like nowadays, like social media, if you don't stand out, if people don't remember who you are, if you don't make like a strong impression, people will forget about you so fast and you will just not have a business anymore. So you need to command attention however possible. And his strategy is one of the best ways I've discovered about how to do that. And like I've used it myself. So I'll use my example since I brought it up. So for my one of like two of my main interests, I guess, reading obviously and working out. So bodybuilding, weightlifting, stuff like that. So like those two things, like there are people who have read thousands more books than I have. I'm at 1281, I believe, when I'm recording this. But there are people out there who've read thousands and thousands of books. So breaking into like the top, like top of that, like being the smartest man alive is very, very difficult, right? And the same thing with working out. I mean, I have like a decent physique, right? Well, more than decent, if I may say so myself. But like there are people out there who are like obviously, like literally, like Mr. Olympia bodybuilding champions, like men's physique competitors, like top 1% fitness, and it's very, very, very difficult to break into those ranks, right? So I did things a little bit differently. I shot up near the top of these two fields, but not near like to the absolute pinnacle of either of them. But I combined those two things into something extremely memorable. So if you go to my Instagram page, you see like 106,000 followers, right? A lot of those came after this photo shoot. Book themed photo shoot. I took all of these, like I dieted and trained like so hard for this thing, and I just I combined like these two elements, right? Fitness and reading, and I made it into something like scroll stopping. Like you're going through Instagram and you see all these people who have great libraries or like great physiques, but now you see this guy on your feed and like holy shit, he's read 1,300 books and he's got this physique, this body, right? That is memorable. That stands out, and that's exactly what Scott Adams did. Like he says, like he's not the funniest person, but he's pretty funny, and he's not the best cartoonist, but he can draw. And the intersection of those two things was where he found success with Gilbert, the comic strip, which is now syndicated into thousands of different newspapers. So it's something to think about when it comes to growing your own business. Like, how can you combine two or more things into something that's going to immediately stand out and that you can be, maybe not the absolute best at, but near the top? Definitely a strategy worth thinking about. And now a high leverage question. So this is from the book Doing the Impossible by Patrick Bet-David. I have a full breakdown of this book as well. And again, show notes. He's got, okay, so I've got another breakdown of his other book, Your Next Five Moves, which is one of my favorite business development and leadership books. It's absolutely phenomenal. And he just came out with one a couple months ago, and it's called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. I flew through that book in like a matter of days. It's absolutely phenomenal. I haven't finished my notes yet from that book, but I'll definitely, probably, most likely be doing a breakdown of that book. And so this question is from the original one, or the first book of his, Doing the Impossible, where he asks, if the impossible throughout history has become the imaginable and then the actual, why do we think that our dreams are impossible for us to accomplish in our own lives? So that's something to think about as well. And I'll just close this episode with a little update on what I'm doing and what's happening in my own business and how I'm growing it strategically, tactically, day to day. So it's been like a decent April so far, even though some of my April goals are kind of kicking my ass right now. For instance, a video per day on YouTube did not happen. I wanted to upload 28 videos. I think I set my April goals a few days into April. So when I set my goals, there were 28 days left, and I like, oh sure, I'll post a video every day for 28 days, and I posted like four. Which I mean, part of that is me putting like for like hours and hours into editing and scripting, recording all this stuff. But also it's organizational too. So I didn't, batch creating content is one of those things that I'm just starting to do. And like, even though I see the value of it, so instead of, outlining an article and then doing the first draft and then doing the second draft and then editing and finding the images and then doing that all at once and then moving on to the next article. What I'll do is sort of batch create. So I'll outline, 7, 10, 20 new articles all at once, and then I might leave it alone for a day or two, and I'll go back and I will just draft all of those articles. I'll take a day and just write 5, 6, 7,000 words on these articles and just fly through them. And then the next day I will edit, things like that, right? And you can do that with YouTube videos and, social media content. And it's really one of the only ways that you're going to, achieve this kind of output. And I did not have the systems set up to be able to do that. So a video a day, did not happen. I did, however, get a reel or have a real blow up recently, and it got me five. It got 500,000 views last time I checked, and it might even be up higher than that now. It almost certainly up near 550 or 600. Anyway, 2,000 new followers came from that reel alone. And that's to my Instagram. And so I'm at 106,000 followers right now. And that was pretty much overnight. Overnight being 2 weeks. But so that was good. I'm still kind of riding that wave. And, what I like to do, and this is advice I give all the time, like ideally you take a look at what's working for both yourself and for other people, and recreate that, like do that again. Don't think that just because you had this one reel blow up and do really well, that you can't talk about that thing for a long time. You definitely can. You can actually like make things related to it, like that people are already interested in that thing. You can expand on it in future posts, or like you can do all of these things, right? So that research aspect of it is really important. It's something that I've come to understand and really put like real effort into. Not just studying my own stuff that works, but also, paying attention to what's working for other people. Like if I see a reel that got like 2 million views, I'm going to recreate that reel for myself and, make it similar, like not steal obviously, but, make it very similar. Like I've already got, ideas for new Instagram reels, like structure and format, things like that, that I know have worked for other accounts, other people. And so I'm just going to, take that structure, like that sort of general idea, and recreate it for myself, and try and make it better. So that's actually called the skyscraper technique. I learned that from Brian Harris, I believe, like years ago, where you basically take something that's like already pretty good, and then you add something on top of it, to make it even better and more share worthy. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I think I mean, I'm still working on updating a bunch of back end stuff, like my landing pages and welcome sequence for my newsletter, which you can sign up for in the show notes as well. Uh, just if you like books and whatever, I share like all of my top book recommendations in there. It's called The Reading Life, and about 4,000 people, a little less than that, but I'll say 4,000, nice round number. They get that email every week, and so yeah, that's down in the show notes. But one thing that I'm super proud of though, and again, I'm still kind of building this out. This is still like I'm still working on my back end systems, but my new community on School, which is also called the Competitive Advantage, we've got close to 40 members right now. And again, show notes if you want to join. Just the quality of people that are coming into that group, and just sharing and supporting each other and just helping each other out. And we've got our first live call coming up next week, and this coming Thursday. Like if you join the community, you basically can hop on this live call with me and the rest of the members. I'm giving a presentation basically on reading strategies, things that have helped me read 1,000 books in the last 10 years. And and then after that, I'll basically just open it up to Q&A, and members can ask me anything about growing their business and whatnot. So like there's a whole bunch of stuff to love about School. Every new member, I mentioned it before, but I buy a new book of their choice. All these benefits of being a member, but I'm not going to turn this into an ad for it. I already did that in the beginning, but these are just some of the things that I'm working on in my own business now, and things are looking up. I'm working like flat out all the time. I literally do not do anything except, read and work out. Basically, I occasionally, if I want a break, I'll go to the grocery store or something. But right now, in this sort of season of my life, I'm just like working. I'm all in, but I'm just going flat out. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's it for this episode of The Competitive Advantage. Share this episode with a friend if you think that they would like it, and leave a review with what you liked or didn't like and would want to see in the future. It's the only way that I'll learn. But seriously, I hope this was helpful to you and you got something out of it. And if you want my help to blow up your brand and make you unforgettable online, click the first link in the show notes. It'll take you right to the Competitive Advantage community. And I told you about what's in there, but there's more stuff that I did not tell you about. Like, I throw every single thing that I can, that I possibly can, to make you as successful as possible, and just like make this your full-time thing if you want it to be. I give you everything inside school. So click the first link in the description. But thanks very much for listening to this episode. I will see you next time.
Waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable.